Hi guys, this is Greg Doyle for Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat. Prediction time. Fight I want to talk to you guys about is the Mammoth Heavyweight clash that takes place on the 28th of November. It's the main event on the night and it is between Daniel Dubois, who is 15-0 with 14 stoppages, and he takes on Juggernaut Joe Joyce, who is 11-0 with 10 stoppages. Guys, I'm absolutely buzzing for this fight. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight while it lasts. As you know, in these videos, I will give you a quick background into both fighters. I'll tell you my keys to victory, where I can see the fight being won. Finally, I will give you my prediction. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start off with Joe Joyce in this video. Joe Joyce, as I say, is 11-0 with 10 stoppages. He is arguably the most decorated amateur in UK history, picking up various gold medals in European and world competitions, and also a silver at the 2016 Olympics. Very good fighter is Joe Joyce. We know that he's coming off of that stoppage win over Michael Wallisch in his last fight. Wasn't much to really tell about Joe in that fight because Wallisch probably wasn't the type of fighter that you would choose before you fight Daniel Dubois, but with the pandemic and things, need to get guys out, need to get them fresh and things, so I can understand that. He's also got a victory over the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Bermane Stiverne. So he's mixed in very, very good company, Joe Joyce, and if we were saying so, understandably because of the amateur experience he has, he's probably had a tougher and more testing pro career than Daniel Dubois. Which takes me on to Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois is coming off of that dominant 2-round win over Ricardo Snijders. Just like to point out, with the Wallisch win for Joyce and the stoppage win for Dubois against Snijders, I also, if you look back in my previous videos, I predicted both of those in a group round. So yeah, it's there to be seen. I think we all kind of knew that Dubois was going to dispose of Snijders. We just didn't really know when, because Snijders had a relatively okay record. We hadn't really seen him in too much trouble. Yeah, he had that win-loss on the record and things, but Daniel showed in that fight that he's a special talent, and I certainly didn't expect him to do it as quick as he did, but I did expect him to get him out of there early on. He's also had the fight with Fujimoto, which didn't really tell us a lot either about Daniel. He stopped Fujimoto very, very early in that fight as well. We've got the other fights against guys like Richard Lartey, etc., Tom Little. So he has been doing everything that's required of him, Daniel, but he hasn't fought the opposition that Joe Joyce has. And I think that Joe Joyce would do similar damage to the same opposition as what Daniel Dubois has done when he has fought them. He's a very good fighter, Daniel, and he is one of the most promising prospects in the UK. Guys, if I can give you my keys to victory before I get on to prediction time for Joe Joyce, I think that you've got to go in with a mindset that I'm going to take whatever Daniel throws at me. I'm not going to take too much flush in the face, as we know Joe likes to do, but I'm going to take him into deep waters and see what he's got late in the fight. Daniel obviously has been the distance with Kevin Johnson, but that's not a distance at a pace. That's a distance against a man who was trying to counter-punch, back off, didn't really give enough back to test Daniel over that distance, so it was really, he had it all his own way. But for Joe Joyce, I think that you've got to have a mentality on Saturday. I think you've got to go in knowing that you're going to have to go through hell. I'm going to get you into the second half of the fight, and I'm going to use my experience. Joe Joyce has sparred guys like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. He's sparred so many fantastic heavyweights. He's fought Usyk as an amateur. These guys all say the same thing: you can't budge Joe Joyce. So there's something there with that chin of Joe's that has to be respected. But we all know as well, when 10-ounce pro gloves go on, it's a different story. So for Joe, the mentality, I think he's got to put educated pressure on Daniel and try and get him into the second half of the fight. Keys to victory for Daniel Dubois. I think for Daniel, you have to hit Joe at will, but don't empty your tank early. Let it come, work behind a jab, throw some sharp shots, don't waste too much, and also just be wary of Joe trying to use his physical strength on you, or be wary that you may have to at some point go through hell yourself, especially if you're fighting someone like Joe Joyce, who I think has been massively overlooked in this fight. So for Daniel, I think that you have to throw shots at will, but at an educated pace, and also just be wary of going into the second half of the fight. Finally, I would also say for Daniel, the right hand looks like the money shot if you're going to get to Joe Joyce. If you guys look back, where I'm evidencing that from is Michael Wallace caught Joe Joyce once or twice with a straight right hand, cannot afford to be hit by the same punch by Daniel Dubois. Guys, over and on to prediction time. If you guys ask me who I think had the potential to be a better fighter, I would say Joe Joyce, but I'm also taking into consideration that Joe Joyce is 35. He will slow down, even with all due respect to Joe. He's not known as the fastest fighter in the world, but even slower than he probably is just now. I just feel that Joe gets hit too often. It's not that I think that Daniel is a much better fighter than Joe. I just feel like Joe is there to be hit, and I don't think you can be there to be hit by Daniel Dubois. So guys, my prediction for the 28th of November heavyweight clash, Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, is Daniel Dubois to stop Joe Joyce.